Hey guys, I'm just starting up a Hyper Turbo heads up sit and go. What I want to do with this video is just see some hands and go over some thoughts as they come up. The reason I'm doing this format is I'm actually leaving on vacation here pretty quick, and I just thought I'd make a little video before I take off. I do min raise almost all my buttons, but this hand is pretty trash. I think it's fine just to fold this. 5-2, it's not great, but I think it's okay for a min raise, just to see a flop in position. I have played a little bit with this opponent in the past. He's doesn't really stand out in any way. He's not super aggressive or super passive. Obviously raising the kings here, min raise, just to keep it normal. Pretty good flop for our hand. It's hard for him to have a two pair here. He could have a weird drawy hand, so I think just betting 3/4 pot for value here is perfectly fine. Well, when he goes all in, it could either be a pair, a draw, or a pair and a draw. Very unlikely that he play a set this way. I mean, I guess I feel like I'm slow rolling the guy because I have the best hand, so I just gotta make the call. He does show top pair. And wow, we take it down. That was pretty fast. I guess we'll accept a rematch if he wants. Guess we'll play a few more hands. Jack 5 isn't the best hand. I think it's okay because we're getting a pretty good price on our money just to make a call here. We flop a very strong draw, straight, or a gut shot straight draw plus the flush draw. I'm going to check here. Hopefully he bets. He doesn't bet, unfortunately. We definitely need to bet here and try to get some value from a hand that we have. I don't think he really has a whole lot. Fortunately, we miss all of our draws, but I don't think he's that strong here, so I think a bet is going to be decent to take down the pot here majority of the time. And wow, he had this better flush draw than we did. With the sixes here, I'm basically, well, I'm not folding. I don't think a min raise is going to help too much because of our stack size. I think just pushing is actually the best play with this hand. These Hyper Turbo tournaments are, if you look at it, you know, in short term, it is a bit of a crapshoot because you have to play so fast. But long term, these actually are quite profitable once you find bad opponents who don't know how to play short stack poker very well. On the button, since we're short stacked, min raising, if you put too much chips in, I think just limping in is okay. Not a great flop for us, but not so sure that it helps out our opponent so much either. Hopefully a bet here can just take it down. And we got him. Blinds just increased to 40-80. Not that much of a difference, I guess, from 30-60. Again, we're going to start having to limp the buttons, I think, is the best play. Min raising puts too much of our stack in if he were to try to just 3-bet jam on us. and I don't like folding too many buttons. Although we have a decent hand, I think checking back here is probably the best play. Pretty decent turn card for us too. The reason I check is I hope that he'll stab at the turn, thinking that we're weak, and hopefully he'll just be betting with almost any 2 cards that we can just call. He checks again. I have to bet here, even though I think he's folding, which I guess is still a good result for us because we do pick up the pot. But if he does call, he could have almost any pair, maybe a flush draw that came in on the turn, and possibly a straight draw. I don't really love that river because it does complete, 6-7, which is definite possibility of what he could have had. That's really the only hand that improved though, so I think a small bet for value here is okay. Blinds did go up again. I mean, they go up really fast. You just have to get used to it when you're playing these tournaments. Before I said I was going to limp a lot, but I don't really feel like putting an extra 50 chips in with this hand here. Luckily we get a walk. Here, 9-8, perfectly fine to limp. The reason I'm limping is this opponent doesn't seem to be super aggressive, and I don't think he's going to try to raise us a ton off of our limps. If he did start raising a lot, we'd either have to play back at him or just play a little bit tighter on the button. C-betting this flop, I think, is perfectly fine and normal. I doubt he has an ace. I think he probably would have raised us with an ace. He could call with a 10, could call with a 3, but we take it down. We do have, I guess, some different options. I think limping here is still probably the best. If he raises, I think we could shove, although he hasn't been raising us very wide. We do catch a pretty good flop, although you're thinking, I just have ace high. This flop is very unlikely to hit our opponent, so just betting here and hoping to take it down is the best play. Again, the blinds go up. Just the way these tournaments go. 9-8. I mean, I guess if we were a little bit deeper, it'd be an okay call. I hate folding this hand, but I mean, playing out of position with not that strong of a hand, it's not the best spot to be in when you only have, like 10, 12 big blinds. I guess we can limp here since he hasn't been getting us off our limps too much. And then just taking a little stab, hope to take it down. Again, same as last hand. If we were deeper, we could call. But there's really no reason to call here and play a pot out of position when you're super short stacked. Perfectly fine, just a limp in here. This flop, I think, actually hits our opponent's hand range pretty decent. I mean, I don't think we can ever call here with just ace high. You could definitely have a pair or a straight or flush draw, and we're basically dead against almost all those hands. I mean, it is possible that he bluffed that last hand, but the likeliness just isn't high enough for us to make a call. He has been min raising a lot, and I think pushing all in here is a decent play. He's going to be folding the majority of the time, I feel like. Except for that time when he actually has a good hand. Well, we got lucky on the turn, he got lucky on the river. I guess we'll play him one more time, grudge match, whatever you want to call it. I still think that the push that we just lost there was a fine play. He was raising a lot once we got to the bigger blind levels, and I think he has to fold there a large amount of time that we can show a profit off that play. I think this is okay flop to c-bet, just half pot. Not very draw heavy at all. When he calls, I feel like it almost has to be a pair. Maybe like a queen king, queen jack he's just floating with. But I don't think that's a good enough reason to bet again here on the turn. Even though he checks again on the river here, I think he is a bit of a call-y player, and that if we bet out here, he'll call with basically any pair, which I think he has a very large amount of the time. He might even call with a king high, so I don't think betting here is going to help us at all, so we just have to give up this pot. And he shows an 8, which he's almost for sure going to call us with. He does show some strength, but since it was a min raise, getting such a great price on my money, I can never fold here. When he leads out, he almost always has a king or at least a decent pocket pair or a better ace. I don't really see any possible way we can call here, so I'll just have to let it go. Does show a7, better ace, did have a pair. Kind of interesting that he would min raise that after we already put in a raise. Does say something about the player. When he just limps in here, we could raise, but since we are pretty short stacked, like I said again before, I think actually pushing all in here is going to be the best play. When he does call, a majority of the time I think we will be ahead. Some of the times we will be behind, but we still have decent equity. And then when he does fold, we pick up the 80 chips, which is a pretty decent increase for our stack. I mean, we could try to push all in again here and just pick up the 80 chips, but he might be trying to trap us, maybe. So I think just checking is fine with a decent hand to see a flop. Flop a gut shot, not great. I don't really see a reason to bet out here. When he min bets, he could basically be doing this with almost any hand. I think a small raise is actually okay. I think he's folding the majority of the time, but if he does call or move all in, we basically have to be done with the hand. Yeah, like I thought, he was c-betting pretty wide there and took it down. I just have to fold this. It's not that great of a hand. We're too short stacked to try to see too many flops with pretty weak hands. So we get a nice little hand here in the big blind, and, of course, he folds to us. Now this is a fine hand just to limp in with, see a flop in position. We do catch a good flop, and we have been c-betting basically every single hand, so a c-bet here needs to take place to not look too fishy. And unfortunately, we just take it down, but can't complain about winning a pot. I don't really love calling min raise, but again, we're getting such a good price, and we're in position this time, so I think this is an okay call. A terrible flop for our hand. Kind of strange that he just min bet again. I mean, I can't really call because there's really no cards that can help us. A 9 or 8 could not even give us the best pair. Even though it's such a weak bet, I think we still have to fold. Hopefully our opponent tries to get tricky with his hand with us. Or we can just cooler him, or pick up the blinds. Again, when he limps, it doesn't show that strong of a range, but I do think he is going to call us somewhat wide if we push here. So I think we just have to check. Definitely a terrible flop for our hand. I think this actually does hit his limping range pretty hard. So I think if he bets, we have to give it to him. You could either limp this or min raise it. I think because the blinds are so big, I'd rather just limp right now. When he does push, there's definitely weaker hands he could be doing with this with. But I think the majority of the time he has at least an ace, sometimes a better king, and then sometimes a pocket pair. And against that range, we probably have to fold. Wow, the blind just made a huge jump. We're 5 big blinds deep. We have a pocket pair. We have to get this all in basically no matter what. This is the stage where I think the most mistakes are made. You're 5 big blinds deep. When you're on the button, I think you can be shoving basically any 2 cards because your opponent's going to be folding so often. Jack 9, really not that great of a hand, but I think he's folding so much that we have to make the move here. And even when he does call, we do have decent equity against a large portion of his hands. Basically, probably it's just going to turn into a shove battle here pre-flop. 4 deuce. I mean, this is probably only like one of maybe like 5 hands that I'm ever folding in this position, unfortunately. Here, I'd be happy to get it in if he tries to push. Min raise, I think that's a pretty bad play if he plans on folding ever. I mean, we're obviously getting in here with pocket sixes. We're flipping most of the time, but we still have to make the play. Hopefully our sixes hold up. Our sixes hold, take down the tournament. That's it for me, guys. Thanks for watching.